Welcome to Chat 62. We're on a mission to bring light and awareness to mental health. I'm Martin Almanza.
And I'm Eric Monarca.
And we're both Marine Corps veterans. As Marines, we're taught to be strong, to push through the pain, and to never give up. But the truth is, even the toughest among us can struggle with mental health. And I'm living proof of that. As Marines, we're taught to be strong, to push through the pain, to never give up, or to suck it up. But the truth is, even the toughest among us can struggle with mental health. And I'm living proof of that. I think we both are, right, brother?
Yeah, we are.
General J. Mattis once said, "The most important thing is to understand that we are all in this together." I think that's part of the two that we push for the 6-2 component. And that's exactly what we're here to do today, to talk about mental health, to break the stigma, and to let our fellow veterans know that there is help available, even if it's through a chat. Today, we're going to dive into my own personal story of struggle with depression and anxiety. It's not an easy topic, but I believe it is crucial to share. And I do hope that by sharing my story, I can inspire others to do the same. At one given point, I was a very quiet guy, would not like to share many things about my life. I was very private. Some given point, I started working for a great department for LA County. It was LA County Department of Mental Health, which I'm back. The veteran service officer thing didn't quite work out, which sort of put us on a little delay in recording because it affected me. A little bit before my transition out of the military or veteran affairs, I had a strong conversation with myself that led me to advocate for myself, since the department I had came from before, the Department of Mental Health, always said, speak up, have a voice, have that conversation with your boss, to let them know the things that you might need. And I did. And for the sake of, of keeping it simple, it just didn't work out. They couldn't accommodate my need, and I couldn't accommodate them. So what they did was they found a position and placed me back at the Department of Mental Health. This time doing something slightly different. I'm doing a lot of outreach and engagement for Service Area 8 navigation, which is basically the South Bay area, Long Beach, Torrance, Hawthorne, an area where I basically grew up in, understanding a little bit more about mental health and the importance about breaking that stigma and being open about certain things. I never realized growing up that I had struggled with anxiety, depression, but I was a very frustrated kid growing up. Like I had a lot of anger. I remember my hands were always clenched because I was always ready to, let that out if I needed to. I found myself punching walls at times just because I needed to let out that aggression and anger. And I figured, and looking back, it's I guess normal for teens to go through that little phase. Mine stems back a little bit deeper than that because of my upbringing. A lot of it was very harsh, especially under the love and care of my stepfather. That was an aggressor, but did teach me things in life. I'm not taking that away from him as well too. It was hard to have a voice sometimes. When you wanted to speak up, you couldn't speak up. Do what I tell you to do, and don't say nothing back because I told you to do it already. Type of mentality.
It was almost militaristic.
It was. So I remember, like, we just learned to be quiet. We learned to not say things. We learned to just, if we needed to cry, put our head in our pillow and just sort of scream in it, and don't let no one hear you, because if you did, you'll get a beating, So it's like we found ways, and it was tough. And at times it could be difficult to look back at those moments because I lived them. And I look at the department that I work at, and I remember my first opportunity of serving the people of LA County and as a medical caseworker. for a child and adolescent psychiatry unit, it was very harsh because it was an abuse case. And I remember the teenager comes in and says, "You don't know what I've gone through. You'll never understand what it's like for someone to hurt you the way they hurt me." And I'm like, "Well, can you explain? And before you continue, though, would you like to know a little bit about me?" And I was able to share with a young person, of course, their parents being in the background. And I asked them if it was okay to share a little bit of my life so we could have an open conversation, what they're going through. And I remember when they broke down, I broke down with them. It hurt because it brought back so much more memories and so much other emotion. I was like, wow, this is what I'm going to have to get used to. And sure enough, I got a lot of cases that were very tough that brought back a lot of old traumas and experiences and memories that I sort of put in the back burner. And at some point, I found myself needing to go back to therapy to talk about these things because I found myself feeling very anxious, even after having conversations with people. The funny thing about me is I love talking. I love being around people. I love listening to people. And I know that sometimes the conversations could get deep and they could trigger something. And I just sort of need to get up and take a breather and come back. And I don't know. I also realize as I have accepted and do believe about the whole, I try not to claim the fact that that I've been diagnosed already with anxiety and depression. What was funny was one day when they mentioned something about, do you ever think about dying? And I'm like, not really, but I do think about like how I might die, and they're like, oh, you got suicidal ideation on top of that too. And I'm like, well, not really. I saw that movie Final Destination, and driving behind cars now scares, or big trucks scare me, and I think about what if that like, that big truck just breaks all of a sudden and then flips. And see, my mind starts to wander, and I start thinking about these things. And then they say, oh, wow, that's anxiety because you have a lot of things going on in your head. And I was like, wait a minute, no, I don't. I have issues that I need to talk about. I don't have anxiety. I just got issues. And I'd rather have issues than be classified of having anxiety and depression. And then that's when the medication started coming in. Quite a few, actually, just to help out, to give me a balance in life. I remember how medication just worked, and it made me feel like everything was just beautiful. I felt like, and then, but I also had an inner struggle that I just couldn't voice. And I was just going through this process of life of like, oh, you're okay. Yeah, I am, huh? I am okay. Yeah, you're okay. Started getting more involved with church. I started getting more involved with some of the ministries within church. And then I started listening to some of the other men's stories as I was aging in life. Going back really quick, I was never diagnosed in high school with anything. I was never diagnosed in my life with anything. I should have probably been diagnosed with ADHD at some point. But since that was really not a thing in the 80s, right? I mean,
yeah, you were what was it? They said you were just
a troublemaker.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just like, okay, well, there was just times I couldn't sit down. I just needed to stand up because I just felt these little, and I just didn't realize. But at the time too, I'll tell you all, like when I was in elementary school, my parents were going through a divorce. It sucked. I thought my life was shattering right before my eyes because it was like it was everything that I knew. It was now becoming something different. But then I didn't realize there was a lot of other kids that were actually going through that as well too in life. But I was just, at the time, just thinking it was only me. And I remember being sad. I remember listening to songs on the radio, and I would just cry because I would think of my dad. Or like I would think about the time my mom and dad, they, if I heard something or if I saw something on TV, and it would make me really sad. But I couldn't talk to anybody about this. I had to be the big brother. I had to help my brother out, to sort of, I felt like I had to help my brother out through the process during that time too, because, he's my baby brother. So I had felt like I had a lot on my plate, and I just remember having to grow up a little bit differently. Thankfully, the love of my mom and the love of my grandma more than anything, and my uncles and my aunts, that showed me like it's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to cry. I remember one of my aunts would just hold me and just sort of like rock me and say, when I would be so frustrated, it's okay, let it out. It's okay. cry. And then my mom would do the same, rub her head. Oh, I know you want to let it out too. So do I. So she'll sort of go along with it and sort of help out the process. And then eventually you'll just laugh, because you'll be, that would be the way she would help out, and you'll forget about it, and you don't really you don't look back, you just keep on going. Eventually life hits. And I remember, I think when I got married and kids were involved, and looking back at my childhood and trying to give my kids something different that I had, and I know I probably have done a lot of things wrong. And then I look back at that and then I get depressed saying like, man, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry I did that. Or I go back and I'll talk to them and say, hey, how can we have done things differently? Or sometimes I might just lose my cool. Over the years, I think, medication definitely was a factor in my life to help me create a balance, to let me think that life was okay, until I decided to make a conscious decision to stop taking medication, because I realized that it wasn't really helping me anymore. And on top of that, I remember I was my mind just goes everywhere, but I'm just going to moments. I was at a party celebrating one of my friend's daughter's birthday, and I just remember walking away, and I was just, I don't know why, I was just overwhelmed with emotion. And I was having a simple conversation with another friend named Preston. And I remember he was like, what's wrong? And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, you're crying. And I'm like, no, I'm not. But I was. And I was just sort of laughing. And I felt like, I don't know, like I just felt like I was not part of me anymore, because this medication that I was just taking on a regular high doses of medication that was just bringing me down and also lifting me up, at the same time. And it made my mind feel out of whack. But when I stopped, that's when the reality set in of like, wow, you either have to decide, you're going to have to face your anxieties, face your depressions, face your everything and deal with it, or take these medicines so they could help you forget about this stuff, And I'm like, no, I'm going to sort of go head on and face them and talk about opening up a can of worms, when you have to go back and look at everything that you've experienced in life and realize that a lot of it was not right, but it wasn't wrong either, because it helped mold you and shape you who you are. But to be classified of having anxiety and depression just sort of sucks, but I know I have it because, and I it's a mindset. I think it becomes a mindset at some point. It depends how you take it, but I know it affects us, because when I'm depressed, I know my body hurts, I could feel it. And sometimes I get depressed because I think about my family that have passed on that I wish I could have had better conversations with. And I'm like, and I know I shouldn't, but it just pops in my head. I could be asleep at night and I'll wake up thinking of an anxious thought, and I lose sleep because I can't get it out of my head. And that's where people say, oh, that's where the medication will help. Well, I'll just take some magnesium and it helps me rest. I'll take some iron, and it sort of helps. I'll change my eating habits, to sort of make my mood feel a little bit better. I think when I need to laugh and feel good, I was someone that said, eat lentils, and I'm like, lentils just sounds fun to say, and I take it. I think a lot of it too is I think about where I could be and what I could be doing, but because of my limitations, because of my back and my neurological issues and all the other things that I've been diagnosed with, I cannot not neglect the fact that I have some of those things, if not all of them. And I'm trying my best not to be those things. But it's hard not to sometimes, because your body tells you otherwise and it brings you down. And you want to do so much and then you can't, because your body, the little that you do, it's enough. And it brings me down. Like I look back, I look at my son's life, and I'm sure I gave him a lot of great memories and laughs and things that he'll always remember and stuff like that. But there's times where I don't remember because the medication numbed my mind, where I just went through the motions. And I've shared this in the beginnings of our show of our season one episodes. I was on a lot of medication, and a lot of them just they mess with you. They relax your mind in a different way. And when you study a little bit of psychology and you understand how that medication will affect the mind, it's sort of sad because they keep on pushing it out there. Like, oh, let's go in and adjust this dose. Let's go in and give you a little bit more of this and try something different. And they start messing with you through meds. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, because some people do need them, but there's other avenues that are out there that could help you. I go through a lot of it. I sit in traffic and I have to be in my thoughts sometimes. I try to distract my mind and I call everybody that I can sometimes. And sometimes I have some fruitful conversations, or sometimes I just need to just talk. And people are just like, okay, are you done? It's my turn now. I'm like, okay, cool. Go for it. In all fairness, we all go through something. I always tell people that we're honestly like a circumstance away of being depressed or getting anxiety, or sometimes worse, where it could be so bad that you could be homeless, and that's the ultimate goal of not. But sometimes people just need that, because being outdoors is sometimes enough, but we find avenues to do that. Like, I love being outdoors. I love going for walks on the beach. I know that sounds all romantic and stuff, but I'm just kidding. But I do. I like going for those and putting my feet in the water and just sort of feeling that cold, and sort of like, okay, taking my mind off whatever it is so I could focus on the water coming in and make sure it doesn't hit my pants or whatever it is. I also feel I found the ukulele or ukulele has helped me through my mental health process. My mental health process. I think strumming that a few chords actually helps, just the strumming. And my brother is the one that actually had mentioned to me about the whole ukulele, that I should try it out. And I did that 10 years ago. And to this day, I'm still trying. I'm still playing, and people say I sound great, but I'm still feel like I'm still a beginner. Having those people to talk to. I know I talk to my mom and grandma. I try to talk to them on a daily basis. I know I got you. I call you. We try to talk at least once or twice, if not 3 times a week. We got a steady group text going on with a bunch of guys that we thought we had lost contact with, but thanks to just one person reaching out and then us reaching back, and now we have a little group chat going on, and on our text messages, and every day someone's sending something, and it lets us know that they're okay, and it helps. I have multiple group chats going on just to help out. I read every day my scriptures. I try to read different books. I listen to a lot of music. Again, I think I've shared the Beatles are probably a group that I listen to quite often. Just music in general, depending on the mood. I go out, but I like being out in crowds, but I don't at the same time, but I still do it because I know we have to. I don't know. Mental health is interesting, and I think the more we talk about it, it does help out. I know many of us have gotten together and we've shared our stories and our struggles, and I know I've been talking for a while, and I hope you'll edit yourself in a little later. Like,
no, dude. Know. Sometimes I just let the conversation flow.
Damn. Okay.
If I feel like I got anything to say, I'll say something. If not, I'll just let whoever talk, man. Just sometimes it's just organic. You just gotta just let it flow.
All right.
So don't worry about me not chiming in, dude. Okay. I'm listening. It's making me think about my dealings with anxiety and depression since I was a kid. So you're like jotting memories in my head, and like you're jogging memories in my head that I haven't thought about in years. So no, man, go ahead. I'm here. I'm alive.
All right. No, I know, and I know sometimes people are like, oh, you just got to get over it. But sometimes you have gotten over it. It's just the memory is still there. It's like it's not getting over it. It's you're moving forward. You're moving forward. Yeah, you're moving forward. I always look at it like the scar component, right? Like you get a good deep cut, you're going to have a nice looking scar. It's still there. The wound's going to be, it healed, but it's a reminder. It's a reminder. And there's always reminders of what happened in your life. There's a good movie that I love watching, but I don't watch because it triggers a lot of memory. It was called Radio Flyer. It was Tom Hanks, Elijah Wood, I think early 1990s movie. Excellent movie. There was a lot of similarities to that movie, and I remember my brother and I watching it, and then we were just looking at each other like, "Damn," like that. That I didn't.
Radio Flyer came out in 1992.
1992. So yeah. So, and it was interesting. That movie was really good. I highly recommend it. But that one triggers memories, and every now and then a random clip will pop up on social media, and it'll be. Well, I'm sure now that we're talking about it, you're gonna see a Radio Flyer clip pop up, and I'll be like, "Oh man, I remember that scene."
It's the algorithm.
Yeah,
They'll hear us.
They'll hear us. I've learned to sort of just find ways to help with it. I don't hit walls anymore. I'm not, every now and then I don't know. Sometimes the other day, I think we were talking, right? And I said, I made a comment to you that I just feel like I feel empty. Like sometimes I just feel empty, like a numbness because of everything that I've seen, everything that I've heard, everything that I've driven through, everything that I've experienced, all the things that people have said to me that were negative, all the positive things that were played in my head, more negative than positive, which is fine. The little reminders are what help too. The fact that I'm still here, that we're still here, the fact that we have each other to depend on. This is all part of the chat, right? The courage, the honor, the action, and the triumph. I think we've had some deep testimonies shared on our journey here by some of the other veterans that have shared about their own depressions and their own things that they're going through, and it's tough. And I think the number one thing is pain. The pain gets to me. Oh, it makes me so depressed. I can't do this. I can't do that. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes you can. It just depends what they did and who did it and who messed you up, depending on what it is. But I know sometimes my mind thinks faster than my body could actually move, and therefore I stumble. Then I just have to get up. I might have a bruise. I might have a scrape. I might have something, but I'm supposed to. I mean, I guess I should use my cane, when I should, and I do. I have it available if I need it. I have my walker that's easily accessible. I have my wheelchair that's put in the garage, but it's ready to go if I actually need it. But I think these past few years, I've needed to use my cane and my walker a lot more than what I've had to when I was in the healing process of trying to get better and stronger. But age also reminds me that, hey, you got to slow down too, and that sucks.
Age will humble you like no one else.
Yeah, I can't eat the same foods anymore. I was just shared with I didn't think I was going to be here today because I was just getting over another little health issue that put me down for 2 days. But I think it was everything that was building up that actually just knocked me out, and it needed to happen for me to get the rest I needed in order for me to have a clear mind to be here today, to be able to discuss this. I find breathing helps.
It does, yes.
Breathing techniques. I'm not sure if people are aware that there are perfectly excellent, well thought out breathing techniques that could help out with anxiety, that could help out with depression, that could help out with just clearing your mind. Actually, I think I'll find some resources and we'll share those to some. And if you need help understanding them, just reach out and we'll go through them. In fact, I think I was just sharing with Eric earlier that I'm going to host at a Sparks game where Department of Mental Health is going to be at a Sparks game, and they asked if I could host a breathing technique booth, and I'm sort of excited about that. So I'll definitely share some resources as I find them within this week, and let's use them. Get out and walk. Walking.
Yeah.
I think Brother Eric here, has a mission at some given point to get a few of us out there together and go for little easy walks and hikes. I think he aside from while you're one of my motivations, for sure to accomplish my goal this year to actually, I'm going to try to jog and walk jog, I guess, a 5K. for sure, because I know I could do it. But secondly, I just need to do it for myself to say, hey, I did it. And also, I need to get up more. Right? I'm feeling it in my legs. It's getting a lot tougher to do certain things. And I want to enjoy the fact that I can still do it before I can't. Because at some given point, doctors had said, hey, you probably won't walk anymore. And they were determined that I wasn't going to walk. And that's why my wheelchair was given to me. There was some other modifications that were going to be given to me too, which they were in my home at the time. And luckily I've gained enough strength to not need them anymore. It's, I don't know. Going back to not just the body, but just the mind. It's interesting.
I think we can actually, I don't know. I think we can do a physical health bonus episode. And I have that one there too about, how we can, find ways to improve our health given our current physical statuses. Going back to mental, I know you were talking about breathing techniques. Every night I listen to my Calm app on my phone, and that definitely helps me out. When I'm able to go to sleep, and it's about breathing techniques, and it's about the 4-4-8. You breathe in for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds, and you exhale for 8 seconds. You do it about a dozen times, and it's almost like a reset. And I have to do it every night. And I thought it was OCD at first, where if I didn't do it, I was going to have a horrible day the next day. But now it helps me sleep.
I do the same. I have if you go on YouTube, you could find you could type in Abide and music, specifically Abide music. And sometimes I'll have calming, peaceful music with raindrops in the background or with thunder. But the one I've been going to lately has just been a black screen with thunder and rain, and light, and it says thunder, the sounds of thunder, and the sounds of rain, in an open field. And I was like, that sounds good. So I played it. I opened my window a little bit, have that little air come in, and it just gives me that little. It brings me back to the Marines when we would be out in the field. And being able to be in when all we had was our sleeping bag, and we would be right there on the side of a hill or something. And it would, you would cover your face, but your nose would be sticking out of the, and I remember even when I had to stand watch and you would walk around, a lot of people sleep like that, where they need that coolness, Yeah. Just to know that they're okay.
Yeah.
And it helps. And I remember you would just see their noses sticking out of the little sleeping bag hole, and everything else would be all covered up.
Looking like caterpillars ready to break free of that chrysalis.
That's exactly. Chrysalis. I never even put that together, man. But yeah, that's exactly what it is. I do the same to this day, just because I need that freshness. I have Mentos. I carry Mentos with
the
me.
Fresh Maker.
The Fresh Maker. I feel sometimes I just need to take a deep breath, and they help. Altoids. Anything mint related. I found that coffee was giving me a lot of anxiety. The caffeine would make me shake all of a sudden, and later on in life, where I would be a heavy coffee drinker since I was young. And eventually I stopped. I drink more teas, and if I do decaf. I know people say, well, stop drinking it because it's not real coffee, but it
gives you that. I don't know. It triggers something in the brain. Okay, I'm getting caffeine.
Yeah, something. But I don't drink dark sodas like I used to anymore. If I have to, I will, because if there's nothing else and I need to drink something, I will. But just a sip or two. Ginger ale's it.
Ginger ale's the shit.
Hell yeah. It helps with the stomach too, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes you burp out whatever you need.
Well, it has that property, not even just ginger ale. It's just ginger in general. And it has a property where it helps out with your digestive tracts and all that fun stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, just trying to deal with things, man. Sorry. Oops.
It's all right. I already cursed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
That was the first curse word.
Mine too. Fucking life sometimes throws
That's
you.
not bad, dude.
Yeah.
We didn't start cursing until minute 33, so
there we go. Well,
that's not too bad.
Well, it just throws us some curveballs sometimes, and you just have to go with the punch. You just have to take a swing sometimes, and sometimes you or what's the saying? Go with the punches, or
You got to go with the flow.
Go with the flow, or just take the punches. And there's a lot of things that we could say, but sometimes those punches hurt, and sometimes they knock the wind out of you and they bring you down. For me, I think it's you gotta think it out. You know, you gotta. If I talk my problem out to somebody, I'll figure out my problem. And sometimes if I find myself repeating myself, then I'll ask them, "What do you think?" So I could get some insight, because I feel like I'm spinning my own wheel, and I might need that little fine tune to get me back on track. And, you know, I could call you, you would listen, you give me your advice, you tell me great advice. And you know, it's up to me to take it at that point, you know, and I do, a lot of it I do. Sometimes I still feel like I have to figure it out. And there's other times where I'll reach out to another brother and I want to get their insight and sort of see where they're at and see where they're at in life as well too. And that gives me a chance to sort of clear my own mind and not even worry about my own problems, so I could listen to my brother or sister that might need that extra ear or that extra set of words that might encourage them to see that next day. I do find myself, or I think we find ourselves both now, being in this position where we're able to be vulnerable and share with everybody, and those that are listening, we thank you. We also know that, you know, this is a part of it for us being there for you as well. So just know that we will be. You could always reach out to us. Many of you have our number. Many of you have our emails. Send us an email, give us your number, and we'll call you, and then you'll have our number. It's a communicative effort, and I know that as was it General Mattis said, we're in this together, and we are, and that's why we highly emphasize on the 2-part. The 6, we got your back, because we're in this battle together. So that's where I'm at, and that's where I'm at with mental health. Mental health is very close to me. I'm an advocate for it. What I mean by that is I'm a listening ear, and I'm willing to give you the support, granted that you want it. I don't ever want to push anything on you that you don't want, or it feels like it's too much, because sometimes I have all these great ideas because I see where you're at. Sometimes people might not see where they're at yet either. I do have a strong desire to go back to school eventually and pursue a master's in social work, and, you know, get more fine-tuned with that, and being able to do a little bit different things with that kind of skill set. But I think with 15 years working with very, very unique programs, specifically with mental health and all the trainings and everything else, I'm not saying I'm qualified for anything. I'm not. But I know one thing is that we're called to be here for each other. We're called to do things together in life. We're called to share things so we could grow from one another. It's even in the Bible. The Bible even says, iron sharpens iron, so shall a man sharpen another man. What, I mean, you could take that in so many ways, but I've gained so much knowledge from elders of the church, you know, that I used to serve at, or I talk about like older gentlemen that were willing to be vulnerable and share in their some on their deathbeds, saying like, man, I've done some bad things in life. I've done some great things in life, and I wouldn't change a thing in the world, because I know that everything happens for a reason. And I've heard that so many times, and I know things do. And I know sometimes these diagnoses really help you look into them to maybe not necessarily make you analyze yourself, but for sure it is, because they make you analyze yourself. But I think part of it is also so we could analyze ourselves to get a better understanding, so we could help that other person in life get through that same step that you were at one point, to help them get to that next step, and that next step to see the greater light of day, and to continue to see that light of day the next day and the next day. I can't tell you, working in the programs that I've worked in, how many times we've seen so many positive things happen in someone's life, and one circumstance could change that so fast that they go back, and next thing you know, they're gone.
One bad day.
One bad day just changes, just like that. One bad circumstance, and all that effort. And it wasn't done in vain. I don't want to ever take that away from anybody, because all their efforts were never done in vain. Just that circumstance changed that perspective for that one moment that made them not be here today. And sometimes our effort, and even though our efforts are there, yeah, I mean, man, I don't want to say anything more than that, but there's help. There's help everywhere. I mean, there's even a suicide hotline, 988. You just got to text it. You got to call it. Just say help, and someone will call you back quickly. If you're a veteran, which I know this is geared for veterans, there's veteran hotlines out there that are geared to help you through your process. And I say process because sometimes pain could pain could really mess with you. Again, it could be the number one thing that could just really bring you down. Some people choose to medicate themselves. Some people choose not to. Some people choose the medication isn't helping anymore. So therefore it's like, what do you do? Sometimes you just got to talk and being there. I think part of our goal, part of our vision is just to have a hotline ourselves, to be part of that chat, so we could be able to embrace other veterans that need that support, especially within our local area. And if people are listening nationally, we have veterans, our brothers that we served with, that we communicate with, that are willing to listen. And sometimes they might need an ear to listen, and they might be local to you, and that might be enough. So let's connect. It's important to connect. We neglect that sometimes, especially as men. So I don't know, but hold on. I need to breathe. Okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead and have a drink.
Yes.
Rehydrate.
Well, I know I've been talking a lot, brother. I have some questions for us, and I know some of them could be geared back to me too. I know if you've had and shared in the past with regards to your own mental health, having some significant impact in your own life. What are things that you do to help yourself out during those components? Or if you want to remind some of those that maybe haven't listened to your story yet, what is it that you might go through?
Well, this story is going to come. Well, this is going to come up before my story. So I guess I can address it on here. I was going back and forth if I was going to put that in the podcast. So I guess I can just I can do it here, and we're going to talk about what my darkest moment. Or I see the number of questions, so
I know, yeah, not necessarily darkest moment. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of darkest moments. As people hear your story, you'll see how you went through your moment and overcame them and triumphed. I know some of them still stick deep. I know. What have you been diagnosed with?
I've been diagnosed with severe depression and anxiety.
What have medical professionals done to help you through this process of that diagnosis?
I've been seeing a therapist since I want to say September of last year. I've been on medication to help me deal with my anxiety and my depression, and it has helped me out. I don't get as panicky as I used to, which I was hesitant to be on meds again because I was on meds back in 2006. I kind of mentally cracked, and I covered that in my episodes, but just a quick Cliff Notes version. I had a mental breakdown right in I think Halloween of 2006, and I needed a break. I think I took like a 75 day break from work. I went on whatever they call it, FMLA. I was put on meds, and they put me on something strong. I really honestly don't remember what it was. I became numb to everything, and that's not how I wanted to feel. And I remember you mentioning that. I took myself off the meds like quick, so I felt all the effects, the lingering effects, pulling yourself off, like the withdrawals. And I wasn't on meds for years until Rachel had passed away back in 2020. I was dealing with it my own way. Not only was I dealing with her passing, I was having to deal with coming back, having to move back from Vegas to California, and I didn't want to. Dealing with it with her loss and not having her there, and just, you know, realizing how close we had gotten those last couple of years. It fucking hurt. It made me I was second guessing myself as a parent. I was you know, I was doing my best to cope with it. I was still working out like crazy, and eventually I guess my mind got the best of me, and stopped working out. I put weight back on. I had a breakdown, and my friend Christina had patched me through to one of the therapists at work, where I was working at before at PennyMac. I got patched through to like a mental health specialist, and that was my first time I talked to a therapist. And I want to say that was in 2022. I gave it a shot, but I wasn't ready to talk yet. Another year passed until I finally just said, you know what, I need to talk to somebody. Like, I'm that kind of person where I have to talk to a therapist. And I know therapy isn't for everybody. I knew it had helped me before.
Therapy is for everybody. They just need to accept it. You know, I think sometimes it's hard to hear some truths put into play, right?
Some people don't, trust me.
Yeah, I know. That's
so
true.
It would be nice to
I would like
go
to
with
hope.
it.
I would like to hope.
Yeah, but it's
therapy's for everybody.
Yeah, but it's not. And
but something, you know what though? This is therapy.
It is. Yeah, I mean, therapy can come in different ways.
Yeah.
You know, whether you're talking to a licensed professional, whether you're talking to somebody
peer,
on a podcast,
a peer,
yeah. If you're still talking about, let's say if it's a loss of a loved one, you're still talking about that person. I think it helps. And before Rachel passed, I wasn't too keen on still bringing up the past of a lost loved one, but I didn't. I guess eventually in my head, you, I guess back then you would outgrow it.
I just, from the outside looking in, when I was there, time stopped for you, you know, during that time. And so, you know, seeing where you, I'm not saying that you never forget. Like we always, it seems like every time we meet and we gather, her name is brought up because she's still here. She's still present, you know, like I feel that, like her spirit and stuff. But I know that during that time, it was, it wasn't the Eric that I was just a darker Eric, you know, like,
yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it was that
but
that
course,
nightmare come true.
Yeah. Yeah. And
you never want to lose a kid.
No, never. Fuck. Sorry. Like, again.
No, it's okay. I mean, you know, I mean, it's true. I mean, some people know better than others about having to bury their own child, but I never thought it was going to happen to me.
No.
And I know it sounds so, I don't know, it just sounds so cliche, but it is something that could happen. And it was my worst nightmare come true.
Well, yeah. That's a dark ass moment.
Yeah. And, so yeah, I finally just gave in almost 3 years later. It was around her anniversary, her 3-year anniversary, when I finally just said, you know what, I got a hold of my VA primary physician, and I let him know this is what's going on. All I wanted to take care of at that point was my mental health. Like whatever that was ailing me physically, I could put that on the shelf for a bit at the time. I had to take care of the mental health because it was just eating me up. Like I knew I couldn't move forward in life until I started to address, you know, her passing and figuring out how to deal with it, because I knew it was messing me up on every level. You know, like I said, it was making me second guess how I am as a parent. I know it was fucking up my relationship with Lacey, with Jacob. I became distant with you know, with my 2 kids that were still there.
Mm-hmm.
I started to become distant. because I was just getting in. I was in my own head. Yeah, I guess that's the best way to describe it.
And I think that's what happens sometimes, that depending on what we deal with or how we deal with it, it does put us in a state of mind where we get in our own head and we get lost in it, sometimes. And it could bring us down, or it could come out in many ways, shapes or forms. But I think it just brings us down, and being able to find the courage to say, hey, I need to talk to somebody is deep. I've done it. I've done it multiple times. I'm about to do it again. I think my most recent trigger was a few months back. I was at my clinic serving there, and all of a sudden someone says, help. Run up to the front, and I got attacked by a client. I remember he says, give me water. And I ran to the back just because I knew I needed to get this guy some water. And I remember going to the back, and my coworker was like, I'm like, where's the water? In my mind, I'm like, where's the water? And she's like, what's wrong? Calm down. I'm like, no, I just need the water, and they were like, no, calm down. And I'm like, my adrenaline was so high because this guy was flinging chairs and he was trying to get one at my face, and I'm trying to hold it back. And I'm like, no, don't. Like, don't. I don't want to get hurt, And like, don't do this. And finally, we were able to, talk him down and finally let him talk. But I just remember going to get that water, and my coworker was like, I'm like, oh, where's the water? Like, all calm. And she was like, calm down. Drink some water yourself, please. And I was shaking. I was just like, where's the water? And she said that where's the water? I need to give him water. In my head, I'm just like, oh, where's the water? I just need to get him some water really quick. But I wasn't. Yeah. And the very next day, I remember driving to work. I sat in my car, and I just remember turning it off. I remember looking up at my clinic that I was assigned to at the time. And I remember just turning on my car and then driving to urgent care. and they were like, why are you here? I said, I had a situation happen at work. I don't know if I have anxiety from it, but I didn't want to go to work today. And they were like, well, what happened? I said, I was attacked at work by a client that was just not right, and he needed support, and we did our best, and we were able to calm him down. He eventually got hospitalized, and we were able to, get him where he needed to be. And I still talk to him to this day. No hard feelings from it, because we just know everybody goes through something sometimes. But that triggered me a little bit. And I remember they said, I talked to a therapist, I think it was like close to 6 weeks. At one point, she's like, so are you over the situation that had happened at work? I said, well, I think I am. I feel better going to work. I feel this, I feel that. And it helped just by talking about it. I didn't take the medications. I accepted them, but I didn't take them. I sometimes question if I should have. Sometimes I want to go back on meds. Well, mental health is definitely something that many of us do deal with. So I know it's out there.
Yeah. I think what we're talking about was it me and my meds, right? And how I pulled myself off of it. Did my So when I finally went to the VA, talked to my primary.
There we go.
I talked to my primary doctor, and my priority was taking care of all the mental health issues. He linked me up with my therapist, and I've been talking to her since September 23. And right around Rachel's anniversary, 3-year anniversary, and at that same time, I started taking, something for my anxiety, and I found a good balance. It doesn't leave me like the way whatever medication I was taking, back in 2006 left me.
And that's good. That's good that they're looking at you find the balance, and then they're finding a balance for you.
Right.
So,
they're not saying, well, you could use another extra.
Yeah.
20 milligrams. And I feel if I need to, I will. And it still won't leave me in that euphoric kind of weird state, like when everything's passing around and you're kind of sitting still.
I think what's interesting and something that's when you start mixing medications, like I know for myself, when I was taking some antidepressants and some other stimulants that could help with the mind, there were also stuff that could help with pain, stuff that could help with like joint pain, muscle pain, your general pain that you had within your scar, within my scar region of my lumbar. It was like, but it affected everything, so it was like a one for all. And then there was another one for all, and then another one, and then, let's add more. But you're also taking painkillers. You're also taking stomach, medication that has other effects. I was taking stuff to help with my bladder function. I was helping with my intestines, with my nerves. So it was a wide range of things. And I think all that didn't help out, and they didn't really look into that. And I have a list of all the medications I've been on ever. I'm not going to list them all, but I just know that some of them, they don't even make anymore. You could only imagine or even provide to us. If they make them, they're not making them here for us anymore. Just amazing. Like one of them specifically, Soma. There was one called Soma.
I heard about Somas. Yeah.
Soma was just, I was taking college classes while I was taking that, like at ELAC, and I would have to pop a pill because of pain, and it would say, oh, Soma, help you. And I just remember being in statistics, failing, but I was in I was in class. Getting off that stuff, I think acupuncture helped me. I forgot to mention acupuncture. Not a lot of people believe in it, but if you find the right acupuncturist that works on the whole body, not just on the component that you're going in for. So like, you say, oh, my shoulder hurts, and okay, let me treat that shoulder. They're not looking at the overall picture. They're treating that symptom, that current problem or condition. They're not looking at the overall picture. And I found some good places, specifically a school that's actually right here in downtown LA called South Balo School of Acupuncture. I've seen some amazing things happen out of that school. I highly recommend it because they find a balance. It's that yin and the yang, or yin yang, or yang.
Yin yang. Yeah.
Yeah, they want to find that balance, and I really loved it. I had one specific doctor that actually I owe a lot to. I'm really thankful for, and also her student at the time, who's now an acupuncturist, whose goal was always just help those that really needed it. And her name's Lauren. She's out there, and I haven't really reached out to her in a while, but I always think of her, and I remember all the joyous conversations we've had and how she was really adamant and really into trying to find what was wrong to help me, and giving me a lot of tips to change my lifestyle of how I would live, including in recent, like my alcohol intake. Although I am drinking tonight. It's also part of mental health. I've limited myself significantly. Let's go on, and there's natural stuff that's out there, that helps out as well too.
Yeah.
There's a place in East LA called Herbs of Mexico that have a lot of natural remedies that could help with that balance. I do believe that for every medicine that's out there that's created in the lab synthetically for us to consume to help with whatever it is we're dealing with, there's a plant that's equivalent to whatever chemical they're using.
I've heard about that. I don't know if it was you that mentioned it, or I heard it.
I believe that wholeheartedly. So I believe that eucalyptus to help you breathe, is crucial. It's in Vicks. Little things that we take for granted, for that's around us. Even going around, there's some parks that have just eucalyptus trees. You could walk around there and just come out there feeling great just by breathing and going for a walk in those kind of environments.
Aloe vera. With digestion.
Yes, and skin, and for a lot of other things.
Fuck. Ruthie's been giving me banana peels to fucking rub on my face for these fucking sunspots that I've gotten.
Oh, okay. They help?
Yeah, she says it helps. I don't see it, but she'll throw it at me. Like in a Mario Kart.
I remember in Okinawa, Japan, something about a banana show. No, I'm kidding. That's another topic for another day. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm pretty sure you popped some veterans there.
Yeah, I know, and they're probably getting a chuckle or two because they probably know about the banana show. And for those listeners that it's one of those things. If you want to look for it, go look for it. If you don't. But it's
Yeah, you got the Google machine if you're that curious.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's an SFW, so.
right. Yeah, yeah. Anyways, I'm glad the banana's helping you out, dude.
Yeah. The banana peel.
Yeah. Okay. There we go. The banana peel. Vulnerability is crucial, like when it comes to sharing things, and I think that helps develop a relationship. You know, if we're vulnerable with one another. I this past week I shared with you that I was feeling a little like just lost and dark and sort of like just numb, you know, because of everything that had happened. And then all of a sudden I get these little reactions to my I guess my skin or my autoimmune thing that the doctors have said that I have, and they want to put me on a monthly injectable that I'm like, oh, should I or shouldn't I? You know, and I've been contemplating for years, and so far I haven't had a lot of reactions like I've had before.
You've had less than a handful of flare-ups, right?
Yeah, than I had in the past, where I was really contemplating at some point, but then I was like, no, you know what? I've been so good. November 2017. I just go back to that date, or that month and that year when I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make a solid decision and be like, no more. And even when I have to take a Advil because of my nerve pain or because of something, right? Or if I have to take like the Benadryl, I can't tell you. It's like I relapsed and I feel so bad and I feel guilty, and then the anxiety kicks in, and then I feel depressed because I let myself down because I should have just sucked it up.
Yeah.
And you know, like the Marines would say, "Or Jones, suck it up, ass," you know, like, or whatever, you know, or what is it? Pain is weakness leaving the body, but then they would give us Motrin and hydrate.
Yeah.
You know? So it's like, come on, you know, like they're, you know, at a young age we've been medicated.
And that Motrin is probably killing the fuck out of our livers.
Yeah, and a lot of other things too for some other people that probably had other stomach issues or other things that they probably never even considered.
Yeah.
So
Ulcers and whatnot.
I was thinking about this the other day. So I went to my first the compensation and pension exam, right, for the VA for my wrist and my hearing. I was so excited because I was like, I never really contributed certain things in my that I'm feeling in my body to certain things that could have happened in the military. I fractured my wrist in the military, and I sort of, like they said, suck it up, you know, and we did what we did, and we helped you, and the rest is on you type of thing, you know. And I never looked into it because, you know, when we got out, there was a turning point where people were getting transitioned to go overseas, and then when they were coming back with a lot of greater injuries, a lot of more severe things that needed to be treated at the VA. And even when I went to attempt to try to talk to them about it and try to say, hey, I'm having wrist pain from this fracture that I obtained in the military, they would be like, there's people coming, you know, back from overseas with more serious issues. You know, you should go see your primary care. And I was pushed away, you know, so they pushed me away from wanting to seek some sort of service until recent, when I was talking to the veteran service officers that I was serving with for a little while. I was really excited because part of that was that motivated me to say, hey, I need to talk to somebody about my wrist, at least bring it to light again. You know, and there's other issues that apparently were on my medical record that I totally forgot about, that I need to talk to a VA representative about so they could reevaluate certain things. And many of us do too, especially for those that served in an infantry unit. When it comes to the ringing of the years, I'm sure a lot of us have it out there, and a lot of us probably thought it was probably because of the stuff that we were dealing with in life, and all of a sudden we started hearing these little ringings or whooshing noises or whatever it was. But a lot of it is attributed to our military time, because from the start of boot camp, especially Marine Corps boot camp, we have drill instructors yelling at all corners of our ears, at the top of their lungs and close quarters, and then you have everyone sounding off. That could trigger for some people that never been around loud noises in their whole entire life, you know, up until that point. Then you go into school of infantry. Then you go into all the other stuff that you do, and then you get assigned to your units, which we were assigned to infantry units, combat engineer units, you know. So it's like, come on, you know, like everything we were exposed to, and they don't look at that because they say you're MOS wasn't part of it, but we have more than enough proof to show that we did every single thing that everyone else did that signed up to be everything else that we weren't, that we didn't sign up to be.
Yeah. And sometimes I think they should have tracked it better. Like every time we went to CAX, every time we had a field exercise to go fucking throw grenades, all that should have been documented.
They should have.
It should have, and it wasn't. So it's like it's our word against, basically the government.
It is. And, funny enough, when I was serving there, some of these statements do matter. When you go present your case to the VA, they might say, hey, you didn't do this, but a lot of us do remember the stuff that we did. I remember us going on hikes, and then all of a sudden they would blow up something next to us and gas, gas, gas. And then, I remember one specific canister blew up next to me and Martinez. We were walking, and then all of a sudden, bah, bah, and they were gas, gas, gas. And I remember that ringing stood in my ear the rest of that day. And I remember Martinez being like, oh man, my ear, because we didn't have earplugs for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then that same day, we were also shooting weapons, without those earplugs, because they were like, and the weapons, although they were blanks, granted they were blanks, we were still shooting them off. And sometimes, for example, when we were going into those areas where we were portraying like it was a small city and we were breaking into a building, or like, they were showing us what to do and how to do it. There was one guy behind me that just popped one off, right next to my ear on his rifle. And that's when I remember the specific distortion sound started happening in my ear. And then eventually it got better, but then that ringing continued on. And I just thought it was my own mind. An old wives' tale is, if you have ringing in your ears, someone's talking about you. So I was like, fuck, someone's probably talking a lot of shit about me.
Someone's been talking about me for the past 25 years.
So sorry about that cussing, but I really thought that, and it messed with me when they said, hey, it could be tinnitus, and I'm like, or some people call it tinnitus. Don't overlook that. Please go talk to a medical provider. Tell them you have ringing of your ears since the military. You just never thought about it because you've had other issues, which is probably true, because I know I did. And I thought it was just my own mind messing with me. And it wasn't. It's something to really consider to talk about, especially if you had an MOS out there that was infantry related, or if you served with an infantry unit, or even with myself serving on the 31st MEU with 2nd Battalion, 4th Marines. That in itself, we were in close quarters. I remember typhoons would happen, certain circumstances, or have us on duty where we would be down watching the vehicles while there was a typhoon going on, and they would be rattling while the water was coming in. Clash, 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 clash for 4-5 hours, depending how long they put you on for. And then you would switch off, and then you would go back to bed. You can't rest because everyone's waking up or doing whatever it is they need to do. Constant reports going on. In the morning, you would have the captain play its little whistle.
Yeah.
And then it would, play freaking Green Acres. Green Acres is some song just to make everybody up, to brighten up the day, even though you haven't seen daylight for a few days or whatnot, So stuff like that, and all that stuff has to be considered, and all those statements matter. So going back to statements, reporting it, and making sure that it's documented somewhere, so there could be a linkage to your time and service. And that's a crucial thing when you're going up against the VA. Something to consider. To help with mental health too, because I know a lot of us are probably struggling financially, and that could probably help a little bit if you could get something proven, especially if you have something in your medical record that needs to be talked about.
Even going back to the tinnitus, it fucks with you mentally.
It does.
For me, it does, because I don't know if I'm talking loud. I don't constantly, Ruthie and Jay, everybody, they'll tell me you're mumbling, and I get frustrated. So I'm like, I'm not going to fucking talk.
Yeah.
So if it fucks with you, even something as simple as ringing in the ears.
So I found out that even, I don't know if you have cracking in your jaw, that because of that ringing, that could be a secondary condition that you could actually relate to. But it also messes with, like, you said, it messes with you mentally. So therefore, it could create some sort of anxiety. So,
Personally, it fucks with my confidence. So I felt, that was a detriment to me moving up in work, in my field, because it's taken away that confidence.
Right.
Like, I can't project confidently to a crowd or to an audience if I'm presenting something, because I'm like, fuck, maybe I'm mumbling.
Yeah.
Am I talking too loud? What do I sound like? Are they understanding what I'm saying? So it really does fuck with you. And this is, with the tinnitus, I've been dealing with that for fucking over 25 years.
And therefore, it needs to be talked about. And therefore, you have also enough proof to show that you were around units that did this. And I remember, part of the conversation I had with the doctor was, what did you do? It's like, well, I was a personnel clerk. Well, how were you involved with all this other stuff? I was with 1st Combat Engineer Battalion, and they needed people to go out to serve on working parties that were demolishing things or building or blowing up things or doing what it is they needed to do. And how is it that you are relating this to that? And I was like, well, I was in School of Infantry, and sometimes they ran out of the hearing plugs.
Or they would fall out where you were shooting whatever.
Or they would have you get up and go, and you would run, and they would fall out too. And then you can't go back and get them. And what are you going to do? Put them back in your ear? I did. And then what? You get dirt in there, and now you have other issues, So it's like,
and a bacteria in the ears, and it gets it worsens.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things. So I highly recommend, if anybody hasn't looked at their medical record from the military, and if they don't have it, request it. National Archives. They could go on Google, type in National Archives, request for their service record, and they'll get their DD-214. They'll also get all their other information that they have requested. Basically, at that point, you review it. It's going to come in a disc. Make sure you could utilize it somewhere on a computer that has a
CD-ROM. Yeah.
Review it, see what you could find, and find your local veteran service officer. You could find them online. You could just type in on Google local veteran service officer for your area. Basically, they'll go and they'll review your chart with you, and they'll see if there's anything that there could be related to your time in the military, including some post-traumatic stress. I know during my time serving with Military and Veteran Affairs of LA County, a lot of people during Vietnam would come in and say, you know what, I had some post-traumatic stress. There was bullying, a lot of bullying, depending on your race, so that's all stuff that needs to be documented, from that time that was never documented because fear of whatever, retaliation was different back then.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure it's a lot different from what it was during our time when we served as well, too, so hazing was still big when we were in, and then all of a sudden there was orders, no more hazing. But people still find ways to do it. Yeah, just, I highly encourage every veteran out there just to take a glance and see what happened during that time and go back and really look. And unfortunately, you have to go back and maybe open up some wounds and maybe talk about them. Go talk to a VA psychologist or a social worker, or if you don't have insurance, you all have insurance. If you served and you got out honorable or general with honorable conditions or something with honorable, you get something. So you could go to the VA. You just have to pay a little fee, I think.
Unless you get that
rating
service
connection. Yeah.
Service
so,
connection.
But the whole goal is to get service connected, and all of us should be, because I know something in our life is related to military service, and that's also mental health, So
yeah, it is.
Man, we have a lot to say. Mental health is recognized in the month of May. I know mental health has led us on many journeys.
Mental health is not a straight road. There's going to be twists and turns, and there's going to be fucking U-turns, and there's going to be freaking severe sharp turns. There's going to be times when it does coast, and it does go in a straight line for a bit.
There's a purpose. I feel there's a purpose behind it when we go through certain things. It's funny because people always, part of my job, my new job, I'm going to be going out to some local churches sort of in the community of Service Area 8 to see if we could host events there, because some of them are big and a lot of them are very active, especially like in the homeless community. They try to reach out to them as much as they can, and they need a lot of support. So we try to provide that support to them as a department. And it's really cool because we get to stay connected to interfaith-based community organizations. And what I like about it is that they could use their faith to help out with mental health. I know with my own journey, religion really helped me out. And then finding out my own, I guess, identity through that has helped out. I think I'm still on that path trying to reconcile with a lot of things that I need to heal in my own past, especially with some of my own guys that I served with. You know, I have a few. I have one story, and I'll share this one. This one is, gosh, I don't even know if I want to share it because I don't want to mention his name. Well, there was a Marine. I'll just say there was a Marine at the time. I was a senior lance corporal. You know, I think Anderson had just gotten promoted to corporal. Corporal Anderson. He was the most senior lance corporal at the time. And then eventually he got promoted, and then it was then me. So then they gave me the responsibility on Thursdays to go around to call everybody to attention and make sure that they filled the crap out of their room, right? So I would go in my room with Martinez, and we would fill the crap out of our room to make sure it was clean. Then he would leave, and then I would just go around and walk around and make sure everyone's room was clean. I was like, okay, this is cool, whatever, but it sort of sucked because not everybody knew how to clean, you know? So it was like, come on, how are we going to do this? You know, like you got to make sure you pass because I don't want to fail. Because if you fail, I fail. And if I fail, that means I have to be here with you on the weekends too. And I don't want to be here on the weekend. So therefore we have to make sure this stuff is, you know, so it would be stressful, but we would put the brotherhood together and make sure we would pass. But for whatever reason, those people that we would put that extra effort into, the next day would fail because they would have a dust bunny fly through their room or something stupid, right? But it was cool because it helped teach me a lesson, you know, to attention to detail. On top of that, too, just to make sure that there has to be some sort of order to have some sort of cleanliness. And in order to be cleanliness, there has to be order, especially within your room. I just remember when they would inspect everything. Do you remember how stressful that would be?
Oh, yeah. I fucking hated field day.
How sometimes they would say, open up all your cabinets, you know, and you would have to clean everything out because you would throw everything in there and it would be your chaos, you know, that would be your little mess. And then all of a sudden you have to take everything out and go through it one by one. But it was a lesson because we had to make sure there was order and cleanliness in order for them to achieve whatever it is they were trying to achieve as well, too. It was just stressful. I would hate measuring the spaces between our uniforms. I would hate putting the chevrons on and make sure that they were exactly how they needed to be and measured. And you would find little tricks of the trade to, like, you know, put them right here and then fold them in. And
yeah,
you know, and they would be close to it and, you know, or whatever. But all that stuff, you know, made me a better person. But it stressed the shit out of me back then because I was like, come on. But you know why it stressed me out too? Because you had other people saying, oh, look at them. They're this is bull. This is bull. So you would hear it all the time. Imagine if we would have heard, oh, come on, Marines, the encouragement, you know, that we would get. And let's all do this together so we could finish it instead of the bickering and complaining. It would have been, I think it would have been different because I remember there was a conversation when they pulled everyone together in our unit and our side. And they were like, one person said, and I'm not going to say a name, but if they hear this, I think they'll know who it is. When they said, I don't like when the senior Marines are just so negative. You know, they just don't this. And then it made me think because I was like, But going back really quick, I was put in that position to leadership to show, like, go around and make sure people pass. And I remember there was a Marine that made a comment and I responded back in a way where everybody was like, oh, you're going to let them talk. You're going to let him talk to you that way. Oh, I'm like, oh yeah, Marine, lock it up, you know? And I was just like, I let that get to me and I let that eat at me for a very long time. And even to the point where that Marine reached out to me on social media and I didn't even accept his friend request because I felt so bad, so freaking bad about me talking to him that way because that was not me. That was not who I was. But I let peer pressure push me to that, you know, like, you're going to let him talk to you that way? Oh, you know how the guys were, you know? So basically I finally accepted him, but I still haven't even said sorry yet, you know, like, and it still eats at me. But the fact that I accepted him was one step closer to me eventually going to just say, hey, dude, you know, which I probably will. I'll write to him tonight, you know, I should, right?
Why not? It's never too late.
You're like, dude, I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to talk to you that way because it wasn't me, because I never tried to portray that type of militant,
Right.
when I was there. I wanted to be that calm during that storm, for the people that needed to be there. And people, I think, would agree with that, that
Yeah.
I tried to give them that when they would check in. Instead of being all anxious, I would give them that peace. Like, hey, what's up? My name's Martin. What's your name? Where you from? Oh, this part. Oh, it's cool. I live in LA too.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And it just allowed you to get to know people. And looking back, man, that's where we grew up.
Yeah, I chose to go the same route too. When I was senior lance corporal, acting NCOIC, you have to be that calm in the storm, because you don't want to project that paranoia. You have enough. Marines have enough shit going on, and you don't need to add to it. And I don't dig that kind of leadership. Some leaders thrive in it, and I'm talking about in the civilian world too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Where they try to get you all fucking riled up. I'm like, that's not a way to lead, man. You got to fucking show that you're going to be that calm in the storm. While I'm out here in civilian world for the past 25 plus years, I elected not to be in a leadership position.
Yeah.
Because the way I lead is totally different. A lot of people aren't a fan of it.
Yeah. No, it's true. Yeah. Yeah. I guess I'm the same way. I think, and you know what? I'm going to say something really quick. And this is a common conversation that I've had with all our brothers over the years, is that a lot of people aren't fans of how we sort of manage things or handle things in life, because I think a lot of it stems from our time in service, because of the chaos that we were exposed to. And then on top of that too, trying to find peace and order at the same time. So it's interesting, because that's how our minds will always function, because we've had that experience, that extra experience that maybe some might have not experienced, or maybe they have, but in a different way in life that caused them to be who they are, so
That's what makes us the few and the proud.
yeah, right. The few, the proud, the Marines.
You talk to people in the Army, Navy, Air Force, they didn't deal with the same shit we did.
No, they were like, man, why would you put yourself through that? And I'm like, I didn't know I was going to put myself through that. I always laugh when people say, oh man, you guys are tough. I'm like, I don't know that we were, because the Marines is the only thing I experienced. I got to experience my time with other branches, like doing certain training exercises, even as far as going with the Korean Marines,
Yeah, the Rock Marines.
the Rock Marines. And I could tell you straight up that they would kick our ass. No. They're quick. They're agile, but I'll tell you, we're big, we're strong. And, I think with the two forces together, man,
Yeah, everybody will
achieve victory,
through their strengths.
which was amazing, because, I was young, and I remember we were all on ship, and we had to share the space, and they were going around, and they were like, you want to trade stuff? Like, but they didn't speak English. So they were like, and they were like, trade, I'm like, for what? Like,
You would get a kick out of where I work now.
mm-hmm.
There's a Japanese consulate on one of the floors, and I see Rock Marines maybe 3 times a week on my walks, and they're out there. They're older,
Yeah.
and they're still doing their stretches and
Yeah.
whatnot, but they're wearing their covers that say Royal Korean Marines.
Yeah.
And it's so fucking cool, because I was like, I heard you mention them, but I had, me not, doing what you did, I didn't know. So I saw the Eagle Globe and Anchor, but I think there's something extra in that emblem.
I forget what it is. Too.
Yeah, I forget what it is too. So I looked it up, and I go, oh, dude, these are the Royal Korean Marines. I've tried to run into them on the days when I'm wearing like a Marine shirt, and I have my Eagle Globe and Anchor shirt.
So you could trade their hat for your.
I know, huh? That'd be fucking cool. No, you would probably get a kick out of it, and I could totally see you guys having I could totally see you guys sharing conversations back and forth, especially since you dealt with them.
I remember there was this one that we were hanging out with when we had the opportunity to be on a Liberty float in Hong Kong. I just remember his last name. His last name was Sung. This guy took us around everywhere. Like when we stopped at Korea, At first, he had he showed us around. It was their job to they were assigned to a group of Marines, and they had to show us around if we wanted to go out to explore
The region?
the region. But I'm trying to remember which region it was of Korea. Gosh, I forgot. I do remember the red light district. That's what I remember. I didn't stop. We just kept on walking through, but it was I remember I was like, oh my gosh, what is this? You know?
Am I on Holt Avenue in Pomona?
Right? No. Or Figueroa in LA? No. But he showed us everything, introduced us to unique foods. And I just remember when it was our turn to show him, like, just to have fun in Hong Kong, I have some pictures. And gosh, I should probably post them and tag everybody that's in there.
That'd be fucking cool.
And then be like, let's try to find Sung, you know? And then like, dude, let's see where Sung's at, you know? Let's see where his life's at as well too.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, but I wish I would have got more information, but I was young, you know, I didn't
think about things like that.
Yeah, you know, but I'm glad I got the pictures. He felt, yeah, dude, that guy was cool. Sung, Hard Rock Cafe, dude, Hong Kong. Yeah.
Probably still there too.
No. Well, he probably went back because he had such a great time. With Timothy Brown, if he's listening, we want to get your story too, brother. I know through our process and through our conversation, we shared how we seek support. There's a lot of programs that are out there. I know California had recently went along and started a new certification called Peer-to-Peer. It's a great program. Basically, it teaches people how to be better people to people, you know, that are going through new and challenging experiences in their lives. Some people need some support, just understanding basic benefits that they might need or a better understanding on, or they also might need some support or some additional encouragement to sort of get them to that next step, like maybe a doctor appointment or a dental appointment that they might desperately need so they could feel a little bit better. But this peer-to-peer certification is a new thing that New York and California came aboard in. So now all 50 states have a certification program, each one different and unique to their own state. But I know California requires you to do like I think it's a 40-hour training, online training or in person. And then you have to take a actual certification test. And then it opens up some opportunities for you to understand community care support. So you would be encouraged to volunteer like at a shelter, like at a domestic, like a call center, for example, like at a domestic women's shelter. And you could volunteer at the call center and receive the calls and say, hey, this is what's available to you, and provide that resource to them. I mentioned this because it's a new thing, and you'll probably start seeing some opportunities available to you, especially for veterans that will be out there soon. And I would highly encourage you all to take advantage of that opportunity because it's very insightful, it's helpful, and it just helps you learn a new technique in how to help others going through their own situation. And it's helped me, you know, so just wanted to add that in there really quick.
Thank you for sharing.
No problem. We've had a deep conversation, and I know we don't really want to talk too much and go into too much detail because we still got your story to share. I know you got pretty deep in regards to the things that you're dealing with and what I'm dealing with as well too. And I know through conversations with others that just being there has helped us all. Can you share a moment when you felt truly seen and heard by someone and how they probably impacted your mental health, like by being available so you could be heard?
Oh, I'm just trying to process the question.
It's a deep question.
Yeah, it is.
I'm trying to think because like last time I felt heard, it seemed like it's been a while. I know I've been listened to, but actually heard.
Yeah, those are two different things. Wow, that is deep. I guess the last time I was like truly heard was probably from my therapist. You know, from the doctor I'm currently talking to. Like she helps me evaluate myself too. You know, a lot of the time she talks, but she'll give me the floor to talk, and I could see that she's truly listening and she's processing it. She's not one to just tell me what I want to hear. She's really breaking it down for me and making me see things in a different, well, I guess in a light where I thought I probably wouldn't see it, you know?
Yeah, that's
Because whoever you talk to, I mean, for me, whoever I'm talking to outside that, the confidence of my therapist and I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm being an inconvenience with Ruthie, who was dealing with it personally. It's different, because she's dealing with her grief too. And it's like I can't put more grief on her than what she's already dealing with. So I try not to burden her with that, or burden any of my friends, or my family. So I felt the one person who truly is listening or hearing me is probably my therapist.
that's deep. More people should be hearing, and yeah.
But everybody has their stuff, and sometimes when I feel like I talk, and I don't know if it has anything to do with that fucking tinnitus, I'm not making my presence known enough. Maybe I'm just being disregarded. So I don't feel like I'm being heard. And maybe they might be listening. I don't fucking know.
I always get like you sometimes are a little loud, or your approach is like very direct, and I'm like, well, I've learned to work with that, but I didn't see it being an issue, and it gave me like, I don't know, like it just gave me a new direction of how I could approach things in life. And I know with mental health and being heard, I think for me, I think my grandma, when I talk to her and she'll listen and, she'll give me her insight, and usually it's the same thing over and over again. And it's good insight, right? Yeah. But I'll listen to grandma, but my mom, same thing too. But overall, I don't know.
It kind of feels like they're just going through the rhythm of it.
Yeah. Like, oh, okay, I'll listen. I'll go through it.
Yeah. And you get the same 3 or 4 expressions. And it's like, are you truly hearing what I'm saying? I mean, God bless them for being there. But it's like sometimes you just really need someone just not to listen.
Yeah.
You need someone to hear you and process what you're saying.
Yeah. Because again, if you're able to do that, sometimes you figure out your own issue through that voice that you're speaking out with, through your own words, and you figure it out. It becomes more clear. There's this book I read. I think it was called Men Are Like Waffles and Women Are Like Spaghetti. Men are like waffles because we compartmentalize things. Like a waffle, they have little pockets. So we'll deal with one thing, then go to the next. Or we'll deal with one thing and go to the next. Or deal with one thing and go angled. That's as far as we could really focus on, because anything more, now we're starting to confuse ourselves and sort of frustrate ourselves and create anxious moments and then depressive moments because it didn't come out quite exactly the way you had seen it or envisioned it, or
Yeah.
Or, you might hear a complaint rather than a praise, and it's just sort of sucks, because, and it puts you in a moment because you put a lot of effort into the thought as a guy, right? I mean, but all in all, and the whole women is like spaghetti component is that they can multitask and do everything and have a pile of spaghetti and still get to beginning to end and still have a composure of their mind might be all jumbled, but they'll still get from point A to point B.
Yeah. But,
Yeah.
they're dealing with their shit too.
They are.
And it's just, they may or may not share it with us. Just like we're probably not going to share it with them.
Yeah.
So it goes, I think it goes both ways.
I think it's hard too, because you want to share everything with them, but sometimes you don't because of the fact that it could create hurt and more anxious thoughts. And I've just been told sometimes it's just okay to stay quiet, and I share these things with you, or with Juan or Kevin or someone that I'm talking to. and I'm able to get a different insight. But the insight helps me process things a little bit differently, and it takes away from the anxiousness.
Mm-hmm.
It puts me back into perspective, or the depressive thought, or whatever it is. But boy, mental health is interesting because we have a thought.
Yeah, and it's not black and white. There's plenty of shades of gray in there, in between.
So, if you were to share anything with everybody that we're sharing with right now, that who may be struggling in silence, what message would you want to share with them about mental health and the importance of being vulnerable?
It's okay to admit that you're vulnerable and that you're having a weak moment. It's okay to ask for help. Sometimes we don't, and that's just not. And that's to men and women. You know, children. It's sometimes it's okay to ask for help. There's no. We need to get past that whole
Stigma.
that stigma that that we can keep pushing forward and not have to seek assistance. I didn't want to seek therapy after Rachel at first because I thought I was going to be weak if I did. So I tried to navigate it through my on my own, and it just created more frustration. But there were other variables too, like I mentioned so many times, me having. As soon as I knew she passed away, I knew I was going to have to come back to California, and I didn't want to come back. I knew my place was there, and I was happy there. Mm-hmm. So there was a lot of different factors. Where was I going with that? I got lost on my own thought.
Well, the message that you wanted to share with
people, it's seek help. It's okay, and I didn't want to seek help. I just wanted to try to get through it on my own, but man, I was just going down in this downward spiral slowly, and I had my moments where and I know I've mentioned her before, having my Thunder Bunny there, we got her a year after Rachel had passed, and she helped me through a lot. And it's, people are just like, oh, she's just a rabbit. She's just a rabbit. But no, she's fucking my everything. She's my everything, and she helps me get through it. And I know she knows that she helps me out because she approaches me when no one else does. She knows when I need it, just like with how therapeutic Ozzy has been for Ruth. But it's okay to ask for that help, to seek that help. It's just knowing where to go.
Where to go.
That's and important. We have 988. You have, if you have insurance of any kind, seek the therapy because it does help. You never know. It's going to keep you from that one bad day.
No, 100%. My message to everybody is the same thing. Seek help. Talk to somebody. Reach out. If they say go get help, maybe take that advice. Some people might say pray. It might help. Some people say go outside, go for a walk. Might help. Pick up a hobby. It might help. There's a lot of things that we could do to help out with our own mindset, to help change it. There's proven facts out there that will show that by doing different things in a positive way, by giving ourselves positive affirmations, surrounding ourselves with a bunch of positive people, or just the people that we constantly love and need to be around, it helps. And I would highly encourage to seek the help that you all need, that we all might not sometimes think we need, but we might need. Find ways to find your peace. There's support. We're here. Chat62. We have our emails on our Instagram, and we encourage you to reach out, and we'll provide you with some resources that might be beneficial for you. There's a lot of things that you could do. May is Mental Health Month, so there's a lot of activities. Our motto for mental health for LA County is take action now for this year. So we encourage you to take action, and speak up. Your voice matters. It really does. And this is sort of everything what we're about. It's not just for veterans. Although veterans, there's a lot of other statistical things that are out there showing that veterans suffer from depression, from anxiety. They have other mental stuff like post-traumatic stress that lead to depression and anxiety, then lead to then stomach issues and all these other issues. And
It's all related.
yeah, it's all related. So, those are all things that need to be looked at. So please talk to your medical professionals, go to your appointments. If you're prescribed medication and they're helping, take them. Eventually see what it is in life that's helping and continue to pursue, because we need to move on and continue to pursue this journey together. Take action now. Speak up. We love you.
Peace.
Brothers and sisters at arms, are you struggling with your mental health? You are not alone. There is help available. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is there for you. Call or text 988 to connect with a trained crisis counselor 24/7. Do not hesitate to reach out for support. You are strong. You are loved. Semper Fi.